Welcome, dedicated learners, to another exploration designed just for you. Today, we're honing in on a role often misunderstood yet absolutely critical in today's private security landscape. The official di Protección personal, or as we'll mostly call them today, an escolta.
hmm
We're going to unpack why they're far more than just, bodyguards. They're really complex strategists, highly trained professionals.
Exactly. Yeah, this isn't just about physical presence. It's about a profound understanding of environments, human behavior, and that intricate dance between proactive protection and reactive prevention.
Right.
So for this session, think of us as your guides, kind of dissecting the essential competencies, the legal frameworks, and importantly, the psychological fortitude required to truly excel in this demanding field.
Okay, so our mission today is to pull out the most vital insights from the world of personal protection. We want to give you a really comprehensive understanding of how these professionals anticipate, protect, and react in these dynamic, high-stakes scenarios. So let's get started. We often hear escolta and maybe think bodyguard, but it sounds like there's a pretty significant distinction. What's the defining characteristic that elevates an escolta to more of a security strategist?
Well, fundamentally, an escolta is a security professional.
Mm-hmm.
Their job is safeguarding an individual or group, we call them the protected or the principal, against a whole array of threats.
Okay.
And yeah, that includes physical attacks, kidnappings, sure, but also things like harassment, unwanted media attention, even reputation damage.
Ah, so it's broader than just physical safety.
Much broader. What elevates them is this unique blend of proactive qualities, aptitudes, and skills that go far beyond just reacting when something bad happens.
You mentioned competencies. When we talk about competencia laboral for an escolta, what does that actually mean in practice? Is there one competency that's maybe the hardest to develop?
That's a really good question. Um, the toughest one, I'd say it's often the fusion of like sharp observation with rapid ethical decision-making under extreme pressure.
Right, under fire, basically.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
not just theoretical knowledge, it's the integral capacity to apply that knowledge, the practical skills, and the right attitudes, all seamlessly to get the results needed in the private security sector.
Okay.
And this is why competency-based training is so important. It shifts the mindset from just being muscle for hire to being a mind for hire. It really turns a reactive guard into a proactive security strategist who can predict and prevent.
Predict and prevent, not just respond.
Right.
Okay, so how does that shift benefit everyone involved? The principal, the company, the sector itself?
Well, it offers multiple benefits. First, you get improved performance. Properly trained escoltas are just more effective. That means greater security, more peace of mind for the protected, fewer incidents.
Makes sense.
Second, risk reduction. Because they can anticipate and prevent accidents, incidents, risky situations, it significantly cuts down potential costs for security companies. We're talking financial, reputational, legal costs.
Okay.
Third, higher job satisfaction. Look, it's a tough job. When their specific skills are valued and developed, escoltas feel more satisfied, and that dramatically reduces turnover.
That's huge in this field, I bet.
It really is. And finally, maybe the biggest impact. It contributes to the professionalization of the sector. It elevates the image and the overall quality of private security services by making the trade more professional.
That's a powerful transformation. So beyond the obvious physical strength, what are some of those key aptitudes and practical skills that define an elite escolta?
Absolutely. Essential aptitudes go way beyond just being physically fit. We're talking excellent communication, verbal and written for clear interaction with the principal, the team, everyone. Strong problem-solving abilities, because things will go wrong. The
Yeah.
capacity for quick, informed decision-making under intense pressure,
Yeah.
acute observation skills, noticing the little things that are out of place, and a solid grasp of the relevant laws. They have to operate legally and ethically.
And the practical skills, the hands-on stuff.
Equally vital. Proficiency in basic first aid and CPR is a must. They're often the first on scene. Defensive and evasive driving techniques, absolutely essential for getting out of trouble.
Right.
Systematic risk and threat assessment, knowing where the dangers lie. Mastery of personal protection techniques like different protective formations, evacuation procedures, and, depending on the legal context, responsible firearms handling. But always, always as a last resort, highly regulated and with a deep understanding of when it's justified.
That brings us to something really interesting. The mental and physical state of an escolta. How do they possibly maintain readiness, especially with, long hours, maybe boredom, then suddenly extreme danger?
Yeah, this is where the concept of estado de alerta or state of alert comes in. It's this constant mental and physical vigilance, a readiness to respond rapidly, effectively to any threat. It's absolutely fundamental for the protected safety.
Okay.
The real challenge, though, is maintaining that peak state without burning out or becoming complacent. It's a fine line.
What are some of the hidden pitfalls? What can undermine this critical state of alert, especially when things get monotonous?
Several things. Fatigue is a big one. Lack of sleep, overwork. It just tanks cognitive function. Chronic stress affects concentration. And boredom, you mentioned it, that insidious creep of monotony can lead to dangerous lapses in vigilance.
Right. Complacency.
Exactly. And even common distractions like phones or personal chats. They seem minor, but in a security context, huge vulnerabilities.
So how do they actively fight that, particularly the mental fatigue and the boredom that could really compromise their readiness?
It takes discipline. Techniques include rigorous physical and mental training. Constantly rotating tasks and positions helps avoid monotony. Ensuring adequate rest, proper sleep hygiene is critical. Maintaining a healthy diet, staying hydrated, basic stuff, but it matters. And crucially, developing emotional self-control, staying calm under pressure. They basically train to switch gears instantly from low alert to high alert.
You mentioned psychological preparation being as vital as physical skill. Can you elaborate on that? Sounds like there's a whole internal framework they use.
There is, yeah. This involves really understanding different states of alert, often described by the código de colores or the color code. It's also about managing emotions, fear, anger, even compassion sometimes, which can cloud judgment in critical moments.
Okay.
They use constant mental training visualization, mental rehearsal, simulating real-world scenarios to help automate responses and improve decision-making under stress. It's like building mental muscle memory.
That psychological prep sounds like the backbone. You mentioned a color code to manage these states. Could you walk us through that? What do these colors represent, and maybe what does it feel like for an escolta moving between them?
Sure. It basically classifies their mental and physical readiness state. So, milk alto, Brianza, white. This is completely relaxed, unaware of surroundings. Think being at home, feeling totally safe. An escolta must never be in white on duty. It makes them incredibly vulnerable. It's like being mentally off.
Totally switched off.
Got it. Amarillo,
Yeah.
yellow. This is a relaxed alert. You're generally aware of your surroundings, but no specific threat is identified. This is the normal operational state for an escolta, it feels like an ambient awareness, processing info without tension.
Okay, the baseline.
Exactly. Then naranja, orange. This means a specific potential threat has been spotted. The escolta focuses on it, mentally running through what-if scenarios, formulating contingency plans. You can only really sustain this for a few hours max. It feels focused, heightened awareness, ready to act, but not yet, go time.
Like poised.
Yeah, poised is a good word. Then rojo, red. This is the fight or flight state. The threat is imminent, happening now. A predefined action plan is activated. Maximum alert, readiness for engagement. This is intense, adrenaline-fueled, only sustainable for minutes.
Right, pure reaction.
Then there's GRIS, gray. This is interesting. It's an optimal flow state, often achieved by highly trained people. Senses sharpen, thinking accelerates, responses become automatic, efficient, but without the overwhelming tension of red. It's peak performance, like a calm intensity.
Wow.
And finally, negro, black. This is bad, shock or panic. The individual is overwhelmed, potentially freezing up or becoming irrationally aggressive. It's a catastrophic failure state, the opposite of what's needed.
So the key takeaway seems to be that an escolta on duty should ideally be fluctuating between yellow and orange, constantly scanning, ready to focus if needed, but never dipping into white.
Precisely.
But given how draining orange sounds, how do elite escoltas manage potentially long periods of heightened alert without burning out or maybe even hitting that gray state you mentioned?
It's about active management, continuous calibration. They use things like micro breaks, deliberately shifting focus for short periods, and relying heavily on team rotation so no one person stays in orange for too long.
Makes sense. Share the load.
Right. And basic physical comfort plays a huge role, staying hydrated, fed, rested as much as possible. It helps sustain that mental edge without succumbing to fatigue or stress. They really treat their mental state like a critical resource, just like their equipment.
Okay, so with that foundation of internal readiness, let's look outward. How does an escolta apply that preparedness to their actual environment? How does Seguridad Dynamica or dynamic security work in practice?
Right, so they operate under that principle. You used the sun analogy earlier. The protected is the sun. The Sculta is like a planet in constant orbit, always adjusting position and focus in real time based on changing threats and the environment. It's proactive, adaptive, very flexible.
And what's a common mistake an Escolta might make when trying to maintain that dynamic orbit?
Falling into predictable patterns. That's the biggest danger. It makes them vulnerable. Elite professionals constantly vary their routes, their timings, their formations, keep potential adversaries guessing.
Okay, unpredictability is key. So how do they start this dynamic process when they take on a new principle?
It begins with deep homework, understanding the protected's profile. That means personal info, professional life, daily habits, routines, interests, even their personality. Plus, any past threats or known vulnerabilities.
Like an intelligence brief.
Pretty much. Then, they meticulously analyze the protected's environment family, work, social circles, all the physical locations they frequent, homes, offices, restaurants, travel routes. This groundwork is vital because it reveals where the risks might lie. Then comes the formal process, evaluating threats, vulnerabilities, and risks. It's systematic. Identify and evaluate the assets people, sensitive info, property, reputation against potential threats.
And those threats can be varied, right? Not just physical attack.
Absolutely. Overtly criminal threats. Sure, assassination, kidnapping, robbery, aggression. But also less obvious risks. Accidents, sudden health emergencies, natural disasters, even embarrassing public situations that could trash your principal's reputation.
Reputation protection. Interesting.
Yeah. They assess risk factors, like the principal's public profile, their wealth, political views, how predictable their routines are, any personal or business conflicts. It's a 360-degree look.
It sounds incredibly detailed, almost like detective work, to build that full picture. So once they have that intelligence, what about the actual planning and preparation?
Then the planification and preparation phase kicks in. This is where they determine the necessary resources, personnel, vehicles, tech. They establish static protection at fixed locations, like the home or office.
They're setting up the secure zones?
Exactly. And they conduct thorough reconnaissance, scouting travel routes, venues, anywhere the principal might go. This includes planning security for public appearances, anticipating every possible scenario, entry points, exit points, potential hazards.
How do Escoltas stay ahead? Especially with threats evolving so fast now, blending digital and physical.
Through alerta temprana, early warning systems.
Yeah.
The modern threat landscape, especially that convergence of digital and physical risks you mentioned, makes proactive prevention absolutely critical. Tragic incidents like that reported CEO death in 2024, they really underscore how crucial robust executive protection strategies are. Ones that prioritize anticipation. It's just not enough anymore to just react. You have to try and foresee.
So what kind of indicators are they looking for across different threat types?
Well, we see a spectrum. For physical threats, they look for hostile surveillance like repeated loitering, someone showing up too often near the principal's routines. Pre-attack indicators may be rehearsed actions, someone casing a location, behavioral changes in individuals nearby, sudden isolation or aggression, or even overt violent online chatter targeting the principal.
Okay.
For extortion, they're suspicious of unexpected urgent demands for money or private info, demands for quick transfers, weird confidential emails, sophisticated fake ransom letters.
Right, the scams.
Yeah. For cyber attacks, and remember, executives are prime targets. Like 12 times more likely, early signs could be unusual network traffic, maybe unauthorized access attempts, strange emails with dodgy links, or just unexpected behavior on their systems or devices.
And defamation and reputation attacks.
Watch for a sudden spike in negative social media comments, leaked personal info popping up online, sophisticated deepfakes, or sudden coordinated smear campaigns. They need to monitor the online sphere too.
Okay, so they've done the assessment, they understand the potential threats. How do they maintain security moment to moment, whether on foot or in a vehicle?
Right, so maintaining security on foot involves meticulous route planning, setting up clear meeting points, anticipating contingencies constantly. Escoltas use dynamic positioning, often rotating positions within the team every, say, 5 to 8 minutes to stay fresh and cover different angles.
Keep moving, keep alert.
Exactly. They use formations, maybe 1 to 4 officers like a diamond or wedge for multi-angle coverage. Constant 360-degree observation, avoiding blind spots, is crucial. Rapid response to incidents and clear practice procedures for entering and exiting buildings are key. The goal is to make it look smooth while being intensely vigilant.
And in vehicles, that seems even more dynamic and unpredictable.
It is. Maintaining security in vehicle movement demands rigorous pre-trip checks of the vehicle itself. and strict adherence to embustibus procedures. That's safe, efficient entry and exit for the protected.
Embustibus. Okay.
Route planning is critical, identifying primary routes, alternative routes based on real-time risk intelligence, and they absolutely must be prepared to respond to incidents while moving evasive driving, anti-ambush maneuvers, often in tight spots or at speed.
You mentioned the specialized escolta conductor role. What makes that different from just being a good driver?
Oh, it's much more. The escolta conductor has a distinct, profound responsibility for the principal's security during vehicle movements. Their focus is equally on proactive measures like route selection, counter-surveillance driving, and reactive measures, like those evasive maneuvers. Plus, confidentiality, of course. They're not just driving. They're an active part of the security bubble.
Part of the team.
Absolutely. And when using armored vehicles, specific procedures are followed to maximize protection. This includes precise convoy positioning, lead car, principal's car, follow car, all moving together. They use tactical driving techniques, maintaining safe distances, avoiding predictable patterns. Constant observation and counter-surveillance from within the convoy are paramount.
Moving beyond the tactics, that human element, especially communication, seems vital. What's the biggest communication challenge in these high-stress protection scenarios?
It's a core skill, really. Vital for interacting smoothly with the protected, the rest of the team, the public, maybe even media. The biggest challenge: probably conveying urgency and clear instructions, quickly, calmly, and non-threateningly. Especially when things are tense or there's potential conflict or panic. Clear, concise language under pressure is key.
Speaking of conflicts, how do they handle those tense moments? Maybe a confrontation without just escalating things?
They use what's called respuesta proactiva, a conflictos, proactive conflict response. That means constantly scanning, identifying potential conflicts before they blow up, then using de-escalation techniques, careful language, non-threatening body language.
Trying to diffuse it first?
Always. They're trained to manage direct threats, but also know exactly when verbal tactics aren't enough and physical intervention is necessary to protect the principal, and always within strict use of force guidelines.
And what about medical emergencies? The threat isn't always hostile. Sometimes it's biological.
Right. Respuesta a las crisis médicas. Response to medical crises is a core competency. It involves immediate first aid CPR, controlling severe bleeding, coordinating ongoing medical care, and crucially, maintaining security at the scene while providing aid.
So they're securing the area while doing first aid.
Absolutely. They need to be equipped with essential first aid gear, maybe even resuscitation equipment. They're often that critical link between the incident happening and professional medical help arriving.
Okay, to tie some of these response elements together.
Yeah.
Is there a fundamental technique that covers anticipating, reacting, getting out?
Yeah, the anunciar, cubrir y evacuar technique. Announce, cover, evacuate. It's a fundamental response procedure that guides their immediate actions in a crisis.
Announce, cover, evacuate. Okay, break that down.
So announce is about proactive threat detection. Heightened situational awareness, spotting suspicious behavior, and immediately communicating that threat, announcing it to the protected and the team. This phase is critical for prevention. The earlier the warning, the more options you have.
Get the word out fast.
Exactly. Cover is about immediate physical protection, interposing their own body as a shield if necessary, using protective formations to create a temporary safe zone around the principal. It's the immediate physical barrier.
Body between the threat and the principal?
Yes. And evacuate prioritizes getting the protected out of the danger zone safely and rapidly, moving towards a pre-planned safe location. Often involves vehicles, maintaining physical control of the principal throughout. Adaptability and decisive action here are key.
This level of responsibility, it clearly needs a strong legal and ethical foundation. For an escolta, what are some of the trickiest ethical dilemmas they might actually face day to day?
Oh, absolutely. Their actions are tightly framed by laws, national, international, human rights standards, specific private security laws like those in Colombia covering firearms, data protection, everything.
Right.
Ethically, dilemmas pop up, conflicts of interest, maybe pressure from the principal to bend the rules or do something questionable, the temptation to misuse confidential information they're privy to.
That leads to the idea of secreto profesional y la confidencialidad, professional secrecy. How absolute is that? Are there times it conflicts with, say, a legal duty to report something? How do they handle that gray area?
That's a critical point. Professional secrecy is paramount. It builds trust, protects the principal's reputation, prevents risks, and that obligation continues even after the job ends.
Okay.
However, it's not absolute. If they become aware of an imminent threat to someone's life or have a clear legal obligation to report a serious crime, that duty shifts. They're trained usually to seek legal counsel, often through their company, to navigate these tricky intersections. The priorities are always protecting human life and complying with the law while still trying to maintain discretion where possible.
And if they mess up, what are the legal consequences an escolta faces personally?
Well, they carry responsabilidad civil and penal, civil and criminal responsibility. If their actions cause harm or break laws, they can be held personally liable. Fines, lawsuits, even criminal charges. And it impacts their company, too. It's a heavyweight.
Let's talk about use of force. It's obviously a sensitive topic, especially since their main job is protection, not aggression. How do they approach this?
Extremely delicately. Use of force is always the last resort. It's only justified by the absolute necessity to protect life or prevent serious physical injury. It has to be defensive, necessary, and proportional to the threat.
Proportionality is key.
Absolutely. We teach a uso progresivo de la fuerza, progressive use of force scheme. It's a gradual, escalating response. The real challenge, of course, is applying this perfectly under split-second judgment in a real threat. That's why scenario-based training is relentless.
So what does that progression look like?
It starts with simple deterrent presence. Just being there can sometimes be enough. Then, verbal warnings, clear commands to de-escalate, give the aggressor a chance to back down. Next, control without weapons, using empty hand techniques to restrain or subdue, followed by less lethal methods. Things like sprays or batons, designed to incapacitate without killing, but only if legally allowed and with rigorous training. Then, a warning of potentially lethal force. This might involve drawing a firearm, showing clear intent to use it if the threat doesn't stop. It's a final warning. And finally, potentially lethal force as a last resort, only when absolutely necessary to counter an imminent threat to life or serious injury.
And with firearms potentially in play, safe handling must be drilled into them constantly.
Paramount doesn't even cover it. Core principles.
Mm-hmm.
Always treat every weapon as if it's loaded. Know its characteristics inside out. Constant training, constant practice, proper maintenance, secure storage.
Mm-hmm.
The lawful use of a firearm is strictly regulated. It's only permissible as a last resort in self-defense or defense of others, sticking to those necessity and proportionality criteria and requiring proper licensing. An escolta's firearm is a tool of absolute last resort, not a go-to solution.
What about threats that aren't a direct attack, but maybe a hidden danger, like explosives? What do escoltas need to know?
They need a solid basic understanding. What explosives are substances that rapidly release energy, create a shockwave. They especially need to recognize signs of improvised explosive devices, IEDs, which are super unpredictable because they're homemade.
So what are they looking for? What are the indicators?
Common indicators include things like objects that seem out of place in an environment, visible wires or cables where they shouldn't be, unusual coverings on objects, strange smells sometimes like almonds or burning plastic, or seeing unexpected timers or batteries attached to something. Their role is recognition, raising the alarm, and immediate evacuation, not trying to disarm anything.
Right, recognize and retreat. Okay, rounding things out, let's touch on advanced strategies, vigilance and operational security. How do they use vigilancia y contravigilancia surveillance and counter-surveillance to stay ahead?
These are critical. Surveillance is just discrete observation to gather info. Bad guys, criminals, terrorists use it in their attack planning cycle to pick targets, find weaknesses. Counter-surveillance is the escolta's job, detecting and mitigating that hostile surveillance. It's a constant cat-and-mouse game, and the escolta needs to be the cat.
So how do they spot someone watching them, especially when surveillance can be so subtle?
They learn to identify typical methods. Fixed surveillance watching from a static spot like a parked car or a window. On foot, someone following, trying to blend into crowds. Vehicular, being tailed by a car or a motorcycle, maybe they swap vehicles.
Yeah.
And technical surveillance, hidden mics, cameras, GPS trackers.
That technical stuff must be the hardest to detect.
Often, yes, because it leaves little visible trace. So strategies to avoid being watched include constantly varying movement patterns, never be too predictable, using camouflage techniques, blending in, not standing out, and minimizing contact or interaction with people who seem out of place or overly interested. Situational awareness is everything.
And operational security, or OPC, how does that go beyond just physical movements?
OPCC is all about protecting sensitive information, anything an adversary could use. Escoltas identify what's valuable. Personal details about the principal, their schedule, travel plans, security procedures, vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
Then they implement measures. Maintaining a low profile is huge. controlling who has access to information, using secure communication methods, encrypted phones, radios. Again, being highly aware of surroundings to spot anything unusual that might indicate information gathering. It's about minimizing their digital and physical footprint.
So, controlling the narrative, minimizing the footprint. What does that look like in practical terms?
Exactly. They actively practice control de la narrativa mediática, controlling the media narrative, though it's broader than just media. It means minimizing the principal's visibility when possible, being discreet in public,
Yeah.
managing their own appearance, the escoltas, to blend in, not look like obvious security.
Don't stand out.
Right. Limit interactions, reveal only minimal information about themselves or the principal. This strategic communication and low-profile approach give them more operational flexibility and protect the principal's image and privacy. Tactics might include using random routes, employing decoy or distraction vehicles, setting up tactical checkpoints unexpectedly, maybe even subtly changing the principal's appearance if needed.
And electronically.
Electronically, they might use detectors for bugs, hidden mics or cameras, possibly signal jammers where legal and appropriate. Secure, encrypted phones are standard. And tactical driving itself is part of OPSE evasive maneuvers, using road labyrinths to confirm or lose surveillance.
And finally, protection isn't one size fits all. How do they ensure their approach is inclusive and adapts to different individuals, different cultures, different situations?
They use what's called fundamentos del enfoque diferencial, a differential approach. It's a framework that recognizes people are diverse. There are differences in gender, ethnic background, cultural norms, geographical context, specific needs or vulnerabilities.
So tailoring the protection.
Exactly. Tailoring protection to their unique requirements. It's about respecting diversity, promoting equality, and adapting strategies. That might mean being sensitive to cultural practices, accommodating language preferences, understanding the unique risks or customs in different areas. It ensures the protection is not only effective, but also respectful and inclusive. It avoids that ineffective, potentially alienating one-size-fits-all mentality.
Well, that was an incredibly comprehensive look at what it really means to be an escolta. We've definitely moved way beyond the stereotype, haven't we?
Indeed. Yeah, what really stands out to me is the sheer depth of knowledge and the sheer range of skills required. From psychological resilience and physical capability to intricate planning, strict legal adherence, dynamic threat response.
Yeah.
And escolta truly is a living, breathing, adaptive security system. It just highlights how they function as proactive security strategists, not just reactive guards.
Yeah, it really underscores that effective protection isn't just about reacting to danger, but it's about preventing it in the first place. Adapting constantly to every little nuance of the environment, the person they're protecting. It's a continuous, evolving challenge requiring constant vigilance, constant training.
It really is. And, this raises an important question, maybe for you, our listener, to think about. In a world where threats are constantly changing, getting more complex, how do you think individuals and organizations can best apply these principles? Anticipation, dynamic protection in their own lives or operations, even if you don't have a dedicated escolta team. Perhaps it's about cultivating your own sort of personal estado de alerta in your daily routines. What does that look like for you?
That's a great question to ponder. We certainly hope this discussion has given you some valuable insights and definitely a deeper appreciation for the complex world of personal protection. Thank you so much for joining us for this insightful session. Until next time, stay well informed.